I mean, I have such empathy because I adore rock, as you know. But the radio stations, the stuff, it feels to me like there's a lot of singles coming out, solo artists as a rock platform. Where is it?
Blame it. Look, you can blame it on these television shows in America. You know, how many times, and I say it, my radio station is interviewing a musician and a band, and the engineer is the band, and the guitar and the drums is all coming from a PC, and that's the only way they can promote their songs is to go onto a platform with a backtracking. So it's always nice when you meet somebody who's written songs and they actually pull out a guitar or a violin or
amazing.
You know, then I say, well, thank God, you know, at least there is a musicianship quality here. Because you get so tired of... I'll give you a good example.
Okay.
And Adele. Adele came from the Pop Idol platform. And she morphed into what I call a rock musician. But when the power went down in Paris, she was on auto-tune and it went off and her voice sounded terrible. And then she even swore over the mic and said, oh, people are going to think I'm now mimicking. And Tony Visconti wrote a damning article about her. And so did I. What do you expect from somebody who started off as a pop idol? It doesn't matter how much she tries to be a rock musician. Is she really? And, you know, she's got a foul mouth. Of course, on BBC, she let rip and ripped Tony Visconti apart. And Mr. No One from South Africa, my surname's Noone.
Yes.
So she used that,
No
But, you know, I think point in question is Robert Plant didn't use an auto-tune.
Those guys.
Nor did John Anderson of Yes.
No, they didn't. I mean, that rock voice is something that is just superb. Foreigner.
Paul Rodgers, good example, one of the greatest rock musicians ever.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, what a voice. You know, no autotune. Even when the equipment was failing, they would still do well. This is amazing. You know, playing on stages with gale force winds, and there was always something going wrong. But they never fail to impress because they are master musicians and vocalists. You can't get away from it.
No, you can't. And it's interesting that you say that the autotune thing, there was an autotune, but now it's
there were no autotune in the mid-70s. They had a thing that could put echo onto your voice and that kind of thing. So they used that in A Whole Lot of Love. But it's very difficult to utilize that at a live concert. So they would rather just, you'll see when you listen to Zeppelin live, many of the versions you don't hear any echo because it's actually very difficult to actually enact that when you're doing live. You've really got to, because if you make a mistake, it really, really stuffs the whole song up. So it's a different edge completely.
It's interesting for me, the 60s music, and you said that we were talking about the bow, the violin bow.
Yes.
With Jimmy. I thought Jimmy Page was the one.
No, it was Eddie Fisher of the band Creation. He innovated that in 66. Maybe end of 65, 66. Ron Wood was part of that band, by the way, in the Stones. And Jimmy was at that stage playing with the Yardbirds, and he watched this. And that's where he got the influence from, the violin bow application.
Because there's a lot of experimentation that happened then, and then things were new.
Yes.
And then you could go and, you know,
very much. And also, might I add, there was another musician that did it long before him called David Lindley from a group called Kaleidoscope, who did a lot of the musicianship for Jackson Browne and all that. He was a multi-instrumentalist, and he was playing around with that also in about 1967. Zeppelin only came together in 69.
Right.
But Jimmy wasn't using violin bow on the Yardbirds.
Interesting.
Not quite there, unless he was doing it in a studio, but I doubt it.
Because Albert Frost is now also kind of doing that thing. With
wonderful violin bow application that he's using at his concerts. I've been watching him with that. And he better watch out. There's competition coming up. A band called Earth Blues.
Earth Blues.
Where the guy's got a Rory Gallagher application. He's young. And he's an absolute genius on guitar. I think he's under the cover of... the guy from Boulevard Blues Band, the guitarist, Pryor. I think Pryor's kind of marketing him. But what I've seen of this guy, it's very often that I fall apart these days watching guitarists, and I could not believe what I saw. I thought, finally. Well, we have we don't get a lot of prodigies.
No, you don't get a lot of prodigies. But I think also in this country, in terms of blues and that kind of thing, I think musicians are suffering a bit in terms of you know, these kind of guys that knows their crafts, and they perform a lot. I mean, they're performing all the time. They've got kids, you know.
They have to perform.
So they have to perform in order to make a living.
Yeah.
I don't think the money is always that great anymore. It was
it's not.
at one point better. Now it's a little bit of a problem.
It's terrible at the moment.
So
musicians, with all due respect, they're literally on the road 7 days a week touring. I've been watching them all over, going to little Karoo towns, little villages, pubs in the middle of nowhere. I mean, Jongensfontein. Can you believe that? I mean,
and I like Jongensfontein.
I know, but I mean, I didn't even know there was a venue there where you could play.
In Stilbaai, there's a venue. I read about it the
but not
other day.
Jongensfontein.
Would you perform in Jongensfontein on the beach?
I don't know. I just think that, you know, I mean, it was so sad to see two guys playing blues at the Gecko, and they're trying to sell their CDs. And every time people would come in and say, how about buying a CD? And they say, we don't have a CD player.
They don't have a CD player. At the same time, I think that, you know, maybe it's changed. Maybe performances are coming back. I mean, if you don't perform, you don't make
No,
your
if you
money.
don't perform, you don't make money. And that is why you can't, you know, I know a young girl, she's really, really got an amazing voice. And she goes as the Bird.
The Bird.
The Bird, yeah.
Yes,
and amazing songs. I've heard it on numerous radio stations online. But she doesn't... It's backtracking. I've never seen her play instruments. So, the only way she's going to have to get out there is to be able to play her music, to bring her craft to the people. If you don't do that, you'll disappear under the sheer mass of how many people are actually coming forward, putting music.
The Bird, wasn't she? She's an international.
No, she's a local surfer girl from Hermanus.
Okay.
I think her first name is Bianca.
Sure, okay,
And
I'll definitely look at her.
Incredible voice. And it was a tickle for her. You know, she did it for her legacy and for her children. So maybe there's a different edge there.
Right.
She's not living on hard times or anything. But
yes,
if you were an artist or a musician and you're on hard times, you really got to go out there and you've got to make it work. And now the vinyl reissues, obviously a lot of guys are going that route. I see Valiant has just brought out in the Valley of Darkness, a very good vinyl. Very good. I listened to it and I thought, wow, you know, I don't know a lot of guys that are bringing out vinyl reissue of their albums, but that was pretty cool.
Probably go back. But I mean, what do you think they can learn, modern rock musicians from the 60s, in order to expand their music?